Welcome to Binge Watchers, where we talk about the stories and characters we love and the shows they live in. My name is Ron, and let's talk about Breaking Bad. Oof. Before we get to the review, I just wanted to say we're going to do another Binge Watchers Q&A pretty soon, so if you have any questions for me about anything, leave it in the comments for this video or on Twitter with the hashtag BWQA. On to the review. Breaking Bad tells the story of Walter White, an overqualified high school chemistry teacher who is diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. In a desperate attempt to make sure his family will be taken care of financially and to pay off his own medical treatments, he teams up with former student and current junkie Jesse Pinkman and uses his science to create crystal meth. Sweet, sweet crystal meth! Reviewing a show like Breaking Bad is tough. There's this incredible consensus about how great the show is. You have tons of people that say it's their absolute favorite show. It's definitely one of my favorite shows. You even have so many people that say it's the greatest show ever made, which I think is a bit meaningless because not all shows serve the same purpose and many of them are incomparable. Unfortunately, Breaking Bad also attracts my two least favorite types of TV fans, the ones who almost seem offended when you don't like the show. Usually they're the same ones who will also tell you that you just don't get it. And the ones who don't like it just because so many other people do like it. It's perfectly fine not to like any show. I just think it's stupid to pretend not to like something because not liking something popular is cool. I don't remember why I went on this rant, but The Wire also has these effects on people. So at its core, Breaking Bad is a transitional story. It tells how episode 1 Walter White went through a process of degeneration and decay and other D words and became the finale Walter White. So from season to season, we see Walter get worse, not just his cancer, but he gets further away from the somewhat decent human being he was in the first season. Because Walter is the center of the show, as he becomes darker on the inside, so does the show. Each season feels heavier and darker than the last. I did feel the show got better from season to season, not the story itself, but it seems that the showrunners just got better at storytelling. You can see now that they got even better with Better Call Saul. I don't think I need to take too much of your time singing the praises of the show because you've probably heard it by now. So here's a summary of why I loved the show. First of all, the story. It's fascinating. Watching Walter and Jesse tread this fine line between doing it for the money and doing it for more complicated, selfish, and narcissistic reasons. Watching how getting into this affected all the relationship in these characters' lives. All of that was incredibly gripping. The performances in this show are some of the best I've ever seen. Bryan Cranston is not in this show for a second. It is Walter White and nothing else. Same goes for Aaron Paul and the dynamics and chemistry. Yes, I'm gonna be a great dad one day. But the chemistry between them is amazing. Just the relationship between Jesse and Walter was enough to keep me coming back. Jesse has to be one of my favorite characters in anything. He's almost the exact opposite of Walter. He lives his life like a bad guy. He's a drug dealer and an addict, but somehow he's actually a good person, or at least a part of him is. And that part of him tries to get out and do the right thing every now and then, whereas Walter becomes this destructive force and he uses Jesse relentlessly but somehow cares about him at the same time. Walter himself goes through this process of strange wish fulfillment, but from day one he lies to himself about his true motives for doing these things, and the transition he goes through is fascinating. Skyler, Walter's wife, everybody hates her, and that's amazing. She's one of the very few reasonable people in this show. You can totally understand her reactions to some of these things, but we hate her. It really just shows what an amazing job the writers, directors, and Anna Gunn did. How the show looks, how they give you hints and clues about what comes next, the writing, the way they were able to create these iconic and memorable moments. I do feel Breaking Bad deserves this amazing status that it has, but I do think that there's a reason that Breaking Bad got that status and other equally amazing shows didn't. And that reason is scope creep. In the tech world, when you have a product or a piece of software or a website that does something, gives you a service of some kind, and then whoever made that product might be wondering, what if we added this and that, and ooh, people like this, let's do this. And then you end up with a product that is no longer good at one thing, but it's mediocre at a bunch of things. We call that scope creep. A lot of TV shows have the same problem. They lose focus on the thing that made them great in the first place and just go on for too long. The network knows that another season will make more money, and that is exactly what happens. And that's right, I'm looking at you, Dexter. Breaking Bad is one of the few shows that didn't go down that road. It doesn't have scope creep. 5 seasons and the story ends. And it's so damn satisfying. And I think that's why we remember it as a whole as such a great show. It did have weaker episodes and even whole seasons that were not quite as good as other ones, but as a whole we remember it as this incredible show because they knew exactly when to end it. And I do think it's an incredible show, and I remember thinking that as I was watching it. You do have to remember that I watched this show almost 2 years ago, so obviously my memory of it puts it on this pedestal, but the fact that I still remember so many specific moments and storylines, I think that says a lot about the storytelling in this show. Was every episode amazing? No, I do remember strings of episodes where nothing important happens. I personally was on the camp of people who hated that episode with the fly, but I still think the show is amazing. I do, however, have 2 friends who have been living under a rock and are just now watching Breaking Bad for the very first time. So you can expect another Breaking Bad video pretty soon where we'll have a discussion about the show with some fresh eyes. Bottom line, should you watch it? If you haven't yet, I would definitely recommend it, even if the beginning is kinda hard to get through. I also watched the first few episodes, left it for like 6 months, and only then binged all the rest. And now with Better Call Saul, which is also great, there's a lot more to gain from the experience. What about you? What did you like about Breaking Bad? And just as importantly, what didn't you like about it? Do you think that maybe we're praising it just a little bit too much, or does it deserve all of that? Remember to also leave your questions for the Q&A. If you're gonna be talking about spoilers, please use spoiler tags in your comments. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps out a lot. And remember, you can go to bingewatchers.space/vote and vote on what gets reviewed next. And if you haven't yet, I'd like to invite you to join the Binge Watchers community, subscribe to the channel, come talk about TV with us. It's a lot of fun. But in any case, keep binging, and I'll see you next time.